2026. Every block, every ballot, every voice. This ain't left or right. This is right now. OVC. Teachers shaping minds. Vets who stood strong. Gig workers hustling just to get along. Parents, elders, first-time voters in line. Same clock ticking, same moment in time. No dark money whispers. No backroom deals. Daylight choices and the truth that's real. Labels don't own us. We bigger than sides. Accountability lives where democracy thrives.
Our vote counts. Yeah, remember the name. Every voice heard. We don't play no games. From the city to the plains. Freedom resound, different stories, same future, united we found. Our vote counts, stand tall, no doubt. Integrity first, let the people speak loud. From the city to the plains, freedom resound, different stories, same future, united we
Clear
found.
facts, no spin. Education unlock, breaking down the process from the door to the box. Who earns the trust? Who shows up to serve? Asking the questions, leaders got nerves. Neighborhoods talking, town halls packed. Local voices first, yeah, we built it like that. Different faiths, views, so walking as one. Democracy stronger when we all get it done, yeah.
Our vote counts, yeah, remember the name. Every voice heard. We don't play no games. From coast to coast, let the movement expand. Power in the people, future in our hands. Our vote counts, stands tall, no doubt. When we show up informed, that's what it's all about. Our vote counts, stands tall, no doubt. When we show up informed, that's what it's all about.
This ain't no cycle, nah, this is a standard. Long-term vision, principles planned. From schools to the boards, up to the higher seats. We connect the dots from the block to the streets. Peaceful power, respect and demand. Integrity measured by actions, not plans. OVC active, participation mounts. When the people stand ready, turnout counts, yeah.
Our vote counts, yeah, remember the name. Every voice heard. We don't play no games. From the city to the plains, let freedom resound. Different stories, same future, united we found. Our vote counts, stand tall, no doubt. Integrity first, let the people speak loud. From the city to the plains, let freedom resound. Different stories, same future, united we found.
Every voice,
Every voice,
every vote,
every vote,
integrity, inclusion, accountability. OVC,
OVC,
yeah. 2026. My vote counts, and so does yours.
Thank you for that intro. Oh my gosh, I feel so special. I actually am not someone who is able to dance. In case you haven't noticed, I dance a bit like it's my first day on earth. Why did it remove my photo? Graphic. There we are. Hi. Hello. You know, I have this light and it just be in my eyes. And you know why? Because I don't have it the way it's supposed to be. Hello, internet strangers and familiar faces. Ladies and gentlemen, we are here for our second of a double header. We are doing a town hall with Zoltan Istvan, who was running for governor of California. We have a gubernatorial candidate. Who came up with the word gubernatorial? I just want to have a talk. Anyway, Again, if you are new here, if it is your first day here, there are 4 ways to share a TikTok live. You can repost it, which is what I just did. You can share it to your story. Again, what I just did. You can spam your followers. You can't hear me? How can you not hear me? I see my little, the green part is lighting. You can't, can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? My microphone is lighting up. Perhaps it is your ears that need clarification. Perhaps you should turn up your hearing aid. Thank you, Eric. Thank you, Nookie. See, OVC too. It ain't me. It ain't me. Again, please share this with your followers. Press down on the prompt where you see host. Press down on that graphic, and a list of your followers will come up. And all you got to do is just go down the line and hit send, send. I want Black Lion to see this. I want Khalil to see this. I want Mesmerized to see this. I want Jacqueline Williams. I want all these people who be sending me group chats. I want them to see it. I want E Pluribus, Mr. Chase, Black Dawn, PBQ, Unofficial Food Stamp Lady. I want Fat Man in the Kitchen, Queen, Jamie, Silver Soul. I want all these people to know, especially my California peeps. We got somebody who's running for governor. This is our, I want to say it's our 3rd California gubernatorial candidate. There are a lot of people running for governor in California, let me tell you. It's got to be at least 60 people by now. It's got to be. I might be overestimating, but it's a lot of people. This candidate is independent. Well, he has a party. It's not one of the major parties. It is the Transhumanist Party. I bet you've never heard of that. Because you don't read. Read more books, people. Learn things. Actually, this is the first time I've heard of it too, so we'll see if he is in the chat. Mr. Zoltan, there he is. I see him. Oh, he disappeared. Where'd he go? Is he coming up? Have you heard of the Pirate Party? I have not heard of the Pirate Party. If you're about to make a joke, I assure you it is not the time. I'm not in a joking mood. Well, then yes, Bianca, read something. I saw Zoltan in the audience. He just disappeared. What happened? Did he see my face and he ran? No, come back. I'm friendly. I'm friendly, I promise. I'm nice. Zoltan Istvan, I'm channeling Zoltan Istvan. Zoltan. Because no one here is brainwashed, no. We're all sufficiently washed. We bathe in Dawn and Dove and soft soap. We are softly washed. We are delicates. We bathe in delicate detergent here. Mr. Zoltan, please. Will Mr. Zoltan, Mr. Istvan, come to the front of the room? Again, Mr. Zoltan is running for governor of California. I don't know why I couldn't get that out. Governor of California, the current incumbent, of course, we know. Yes, Bianca, you wash your scalp. That is brainwashing. You got to wash the outside and the inside, really, right? Gavin Newsom is the current incumbent in the state of California. Gavin Newsom is retiring to show ponies or something. I don't know. Population of California, 39.2 to 39.5 million people. The last person we did a town hall with is running for comptroller of Texas. There were what, 20.5 million, 25 million, something like that. These are big states. These people are doing big things. You see, it's not small things, big things. Big. But we love the small G's too. We like the big G's and the small G's. In 2024, 6 people ran for president. Can you name them? Well, one of them was Donald Trump. Joseph R. Biden Jr. ran, and then he dropped out. And then it was Kamala Harris. So that's 3 right there. Jill Stein, number 4. Number 5, this lady who lives a couple of streets over from me, she ran for president. She didn't make it, though. So that's 5. 6, D's nuts, apparently. It says here, D's nuts. Mr. Istvan, are you in the audience? Mr. Istvan, channeling Mr. Istvan, please. Canal West. Higher levels, I need you to leave. Higher levels, I need you to leave immediately. No, you mean Cornel West. Cornel West. That black dude with the afro, yes. Cornel West. Oh, sometimes the audience makes the town hall. And sometimes the town hall is the friends we made along the way. I'm not kidding. I did see Mr. Istvan in the audience. And as soon as I went to click on his name, he left. Or maybe he transcended. You get that? Anyway, here you are. Hey.
Hi, I'm so sorry. This is my first time. Do you see me at least? I'm trying to get your custom background.
Okay, there you are. I see you.
I was trying to get your custom background, and I think that threw me off quite a bit.
Is this your first time on TikTok Live?
It is my very first time on TikTok Live. I'm a little embarrassed to say that.
No, it's okay. So many of the candidates that we have on here, it is their very first time going live on TikTok. It's incredible.
Well, thank you. I'm happy to try to put on your banner, but maybe I'll lose you. I'm not sure. I had it on when I was practicing.
Mr. Istvan, I've read your bio. I know all of your secrets. I know you can do this. You are some kind of AI wizard or something?
That is hopefully the case, yes, but unfortunately it doesn't appear that way right now.
Well, if you can't do it, it's okay. I mean, there are rules that are hard and fast. That is not one of them. If you can't manage it, don't worry about it.
I tried for a long time. I'm worried if I try it again, I'll probably mess us up and lose you.
Right where you are is fine. Right where you are. I would like to know if you shared this with your followers. Do you know how to do that?
I did. I shared it about 25 minutes ago through every one of my social medias, LinkedIn, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. So hopefully people are joining. I hope they weren't put off. I was a few minutes late.
No, I was entertaining them. I was warming them up. I'm very good at warming up the crowd. Don't worry about that. We'll put some butts in the seats there, Mr. Zoltan. Can I call you Zoltan? Is it Zoltan or Zoltan?
It's whichever you like, but Zoltan. But don't worry.
Okay.
It's okay.
Okay, Zoltan. No, I want to get it right. I also have one of those funky sounding names that I hate it when people mess up. So I want to get yours correct. Zoltan. Welcome to our Vote Counts Town Hall this evening. We are speaking with Zoltan. Is it Istvan? Istvan?
Indeed, it is Istvan. But again, you can pronounce my name any way that you feel comfortable saying it.
Well, I want to be respectful. I want to be respectful, and if I don't do it the right way, they will yell at me in the back room. The people behind the graphic will yell at me. So I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Mr. Zoltan is candidate for California's governor's race, and I was telling the people that the candidate field is pretty large. We've spoken with several people who are running for governor of California, and all of them very interesting. Lots of people, lots of ideas, lots of different ideas. Yours are the most unique of any candidate I have spoken to, and we've done over 100 of these. You are the most unique. So,
Well, thank you so much. I hope that's a good thing.
you've got that going for you. I hope that the people in the audience know that if you have questions for Zoltan, I'm not going to get this. I'm so sorry. Zoltan, if you have questions for him, please leave them in the chat or hit the multi-guest option and you can come up and ask him yourself. They can be policy related or questions related to his background, whatever you want to ask him. We are free and fair up here. We don't discriminate. Again, hit the multi-guest or leave it in the chat and I will read the question to him. Also, please be respectful in the chat. There are moderators in the chat, and if they see something squirrely or funny, they will have some words for you. Okay? Also, please use TikTok-friendly language, Mr. Zoltan. You know what that is, right? You know what that is?
I do. I read the rules, but I must say I'm not that familiar with TikTok. Although I use it every day, I guess I just learned a lot when trying to go live about how it works.
Yeah, sometimes if you say like, you know, one of those buzzwords like the ABORTION word, if you say that, they'll give you one of those violations, and then I have to kick you off, and then we have to end the live, and nobody wants that. We want to keep everything good. So TikTok friendly language. Also, I want to just first introduce who we are. Our vote counts. OVC is what we call ourselves. We are a nonpartisan coalition of citizens from diverse states and backgrounds, united by a shared commitment to empowering voters and promoting candidates who stand for integrity, inclusion, and accountability in the upcoming elections. Myself, Ayana, I am from Ohio, very far from California. But by working across state lines and elevating local and national issues, we aim to increase voter turnout, inform public dialogue, and build momentum for lasting change. Our Vote Counts is more than a name. It's a promise, a movement, and a rallying cry for democracy. Together, we are shaping the future, one informed vote at a time. And as I have said multiple times, Mr. Zoltan is running for California governor. Mr. Zoltan is known for futurist ideas, bold proposals, and a vision centered on technology, innovation, and long-term planning. We're going to cover everything from AI and jobs to housing, climate, and his broader philosophy for California's future. So let's get started. Mr. Zoltan, for those meeting you for the first time, please tell us more about yourself and why you decided to run for governor.
Sure. Well, first, thanks for having me, and sorry for being a little bit late.
Oh, it's okay.
I only have about an hour here, so TikTok is something that is new to me. My daughter was right by me trying to help me get live, but I did sort of blow it. But thank you for your patience. Let me just say, it's a strange thing to run for California governor. Of course, it's the fourth largest economy in the world, and it's a very powerful state and all these things. But in my opinion, something has gone wrong with the state. There's quite a bit, been an uptick of violence in the last 10 years. There's been an uptick of poverty. Inequality has been growing dramatically. I have vineyards as my business. They're constantly getting broken into. They've become very difficult to make any money on. I mean, the affordability issue is probably the number one in California. But outside of some of the negative things, it's an amazingly beautiful state. And I was born and raised here. Despite the funny name, I have a Hungarian name, but I was born here. I am trying to do something about making the state very special again. And as a futurist, as somebody who, deals with professionally wild ideas, I want to bring a lot of those to the table. And as you probably know, I mean, if we are here behind these little screens talking to each other, we are in a wild time already. And every single day, the world gets wilder. I mean, when you look at what technology and science are doing to planet Earth, it's become almost crazy how wild this experience of life has become. And that's one of the reasons I'm running for governor right now in California, is because there's a lot of candidates out there. They're established politicians. They are good people, but they've been talking about the same things for 20 or 30 years. They're talking about taxes. They're talking about immigration. They're talking about healthcare. And those are all great things to talk about. They're all very important. But nothing is as important right now as how technology is starting to completely inundate our lives. Take AI, for example. Right now, you're seeing a complete plateau of jobs in Silicon Valley. Now, that wouldn't make a big difference, except that plateau of jobs, which is about to become a crash, those jobs are never coming back. And the reason they're never coming back is because artificial intelligence is taking those jobs, and artificial intelligence is improving itself exponentially, basically every month. So if you thought you were a PhD engineer and you could code and do things like that, it doesn't make a difference. AI is going to be better than you. It already is in 90% of the cases, and in 99.9% of the cases, it will be better within 6 to 12 months. This is crazy. These are super smart people who are losing their jobs, and it's not just, of course, engineers. Soon it's going to be attorneys. It's going to be doctors. It's going to be teachers. It's going to be anybody, civil engineers, anybody, journalists. Okay, I spent 30 years at the top echelon of journalism. I've written for National Geographic, for the New York Times, for Wired Magazine. I've written for everyone. I hate to say it, but ChatGPT can write better than me now. In fact, it's been over a year since ChatGPT can write better than me, and of course, it can do it in a tenth of the time that it would take me. We're all subject to this crazy, wild technology coming through the platform, coming through the world. And I'm here to try to talk to people about it and try to bring out proposals that no other gubernatorial candidate is doing. And the reason they don't do it, I'll just be honest with you, every time you talk about AI and job loss, every time you talk about superintelligence, nobody likes it. It doesn't win votes. It ruins your chances of becoming a politician, of winning the governorship. And the reason is because it's dark. It's not a happy thing. There's no optimism in it. We've created an intelligence that one day might be smarter than us, that one day might be 12 months away. This is very, very challenging philosophical stuff. So it doesn't really go well with voters. And yet I feel, as a futurist, as someone who spent 30 years dealing with artificial intelligence and technology, that I should be telling voters about it. Even if I don't win the governorship, at least I've told people something so that they open their eyes and can say, wait a sec, there was this guy who was telling us AI was going to take our jobs, and I went to school for 8 years and now I can't get a job. What am I going to do? So my entire platform very much revolves around this enormous challenge that we have with artificial intelligence. Of course, I support basic income as a result of that. I have many other policies. I approach, I'm a Democrat. I approach the gubernatorial race as a centrist. But my main focus is really on a lot of younger people, especially starting out. What are they going to do when there's no jobs for them? What kind of lives are they going to lead? What does the American dream mean? And that's very much what my gubernatorial candidacy is about. So I'm happy to answer any questions on that. I'm also happy to answer all the questions on education and all the other issues, taxes that people are talking about. Of course, when I debate and do things like that, I discuss those. But no one wants to talk about the 800-pound gorilla in the room. That 800-pound gorilla is that AI is going to be smarter than us, probably within 12 to 24 months, and corporations will start increasingly utilizing AI to take all of our jobs, leaving us without any money. And if that happens, there will be great civil strife. So I'd like to stop that. And I'm the only gubernatorial candidate openly discussing these issues, trying to come up with solutions for you.
And that's the questions that we have in the chat is based on everything that I've read about you. You say you're a futurist. I've read that you're transhumanist, but you're saying that you're a Democrat. What's your party affiliation?
Absolutely. So I'm running as a Democrat now, and I see in the chat someone saying, why did I run as a Republican in 2020? I'll be happy to say that. Well, first, I ran directly against Trump. I felt that was an important thing to do for me personally. Again, I am an expert in technology. I've spent 20, 30 years in the field. So I felt like it was important to try to push back against some of Trump's, I would say, kind of oppressive ideas. And I did that. I also ran for the Libertarian Party. I was the endorsed candidate back in 2018 for the California governorship. I also founded the Transhumanist Party. Transhumanism is a social movement of trying to use science and technology to improve people's lives and improve the human being. But I'm not a party guy, and my ideas have barely changed in 16 or 20 years since I've been trying to run for office, or at least writing about it for the New York Times and Wired and places like that. I just believe that science and technology is wonderful. And at the same time, it's very challenging and can be very dangerous. And none of the candidates want to talk about that. In fact, in the last presidential debates, you didn't hear Trump or Kamala discussing AI. Again, nobody wants to talk about this very challenging issue that's perhaps the most challenging issue of our time. So I'm beyond the parties. I am a liberal person, though, I think at heart. I've always had a strong strain of wanting to help, I think, the less unfortunate. And I'm also someone who really loves freedom. If you had to classify me, I'd probably say I'm a Democrat who is on the libertarian leaning side of being a Democrat. And that makes me even a little bit right of center, but still well within the blue range.
Okay. You know what? It doesn't matter to me what party you belong to. The people were asking. So when they go to vote, I don't know how it works in California, if things are arranged, if you get a Democrat ballot or you get a Republican ballot or you just get a ballot with all the names on it. So I just wanted to clarify that for the people. But we do have a couple of people in the audience who are living in California who would be affected by your policies if you were governor. So I hope they'll come up and ask you questions. But your campaign puts technology front and center, as you just described. So we're going to begin there. You've warned about AI could be the biggest economic disruptor in history. What's the first concrete policy you'd implement as governor to manage that risk?
So it's funny because I just told you I'm sort of like this little bit of a right-leaning Democrat, except for one single policy that happens to be the foundation of my candidacy. And that's that I support a universal basic income, which is about as progressive as you can get. I am convinced that AI will be the greatest disruption to economic history that we've ever had. And I'm convinced that it will take the majority of jobs that people have. And therefore, in order to make people not riot or not, freak out when they're hungry or don't have housing because they can't afford anything, we need to step in now and start providing a universal basic income. And I would love to be the very first state in the United States that makes everybody, maybe not the rich people. So when we say universal, it might be universal, but the billionaires would maybe just get $1 a month. But anyone making under $150,000 would probably get what we hope is at least some type of livable salary so that they could have health care, they could have food, and that they could have shelter. Now, on top of that, they may be working, they may be doing other things to make money. That's great. But we want to make it so that even the homeless person will be able to say, you know what, I got $1,200 or $1,300 a month coming in, plus whatever welfare ideas they have. And that should be enough for people to live. And that is my staple policy of my campaign. And I know that, again, that's not very much. If you think I've run for Republican or Libertarian or things like this, look, the main idea, and I supported this during every campaign that I've ever had, I have supported a universal basic income. In fact, even before Andrew Yang ran for the presidency in 2020 and made universal basic income quite famous, I was running on a universal basic income in 2016.
So you believe that universal basic income will support workers who get displaced by AI? You believe that will be enough to help people who are already struggling financially?
I believe it will be enough to definitely help them. We want to make it enough. I want to be very clear, though. Universal basic income is just one of our central policies. Even though it's the foundational one, there are other ones. We have something called the automated abundance economy. And this is this idea that the world is changing. With artificial intelligence and humanoid robots, I just yesterday released a robot flipping. I mean, they're doing gymnastics. They're going to outdo Olympic gymnasts within probably 1 to 2 years' time. And they're going to be plumbers. They're going to be in construction. They're going to have, of course, ChatGPT capabilities in their head, in the robotic brains. They're simply going to outdo us when it comes to labor. there's really nothing a human can probably do to outdo humanoid robots that are tied into AI, probably within 1 to 2 to 3 years' time. Now, if that happens and CEOs make the very dangerous decision of firing people and instead buying robots to do their jobs, which they almost inevitably will. You saw that in Amazon just last week when they fired another 16,000 exec. I mean, they're doing it left and right every single day. It's happening now. We're stuck in this incredible new world where even if you go to college, even if you have a PhD in physics, even if you're one of the smartest people of your class, it doesn't make a difference. You can't outdo this machine. Therefore, what do we do? Well, outside of the universal basic income, this automated abundance economy that I've spoken about at length in my campaign tries to get us to reimagine what the American dream is. Right now, most of us work 9 to 5, or most of us work hard, and we have somebody above us, the man, who's always kind of like, we're afraid of, we don't want to lose our job, we have mortgage payments, we have car payments, and if we miss any of those, or miss 2 or 3 of those in a row, we might end up homeless. That's why homelessness has been increasing in the United States, and it's absolutely crazy in California. So we need to do something because poverty is growing in the United States, and inequality is growing. The rich are getting richer and the poor are getting poorer. That's been happening now for a good 20, 30 years. Now, if that continues, especially with this AI age, it's going to be so bad. People are going to be all over the streets. So we need to stop this dystopia. And my automated abundance economy has a couple different ideas on doing that. The first is we provide a basic income. So at least you have the basics covered. The second is we're going to try to use AI to our advantage. In California, I would love to either give or lease or sell a robot, selling in the case of rich people, but leasing or giving in the case of people maybe under $150,000 earners, a robot to help them with chores. So already in California, we now have robots that can undo your dishwasher, that can start doing basic cooking for you. But probably by next year, there's going to start being robots that can not just, take your dog for a walk. That's easy stuff. But get in your car and drive it, or read a book to your child and put it to bed, or, act as a security officer right in your front door when maybe in danger. I mean, go on vacation with you and do all these things. The point is, within 1 or 2 or 3 years, these things are going to be incredibly sophisticated. And a classic example is that Elon Musk just stopped producing this famous car, X car, this SUV that has these amazing doors that go up to make robots. He said, Tesla's not a car company. Tesla's a robot company. That's where the money is. If you could take a car company and essentially kill it like that to make robots, then obviously the world is changing underneath our feet. So we're going to have them all over our lives, in our houses, in our schoolrooms, with our teachers, as firemen, as policemen, here in the next few years. And I want to make sure that they work for you. I want to make sure that they make your lives easier. I want to make sure that a robot every night, if you want salmon, serves it to you, cleans the dishes, cooks that salmon, and goes out and shops for it, and makes your life much more leisurely. So that's part of my automated abundant economy. But the big part of it is more challenging. It's philosophical. If you can't make money because robots do it, where does that leave us? Most of us are tied, our profession is tied to who we are. So I'm trying to get Californians and Americans to reimagine the American dream. The American dream is not going to be hustling to make $1 or a dime anymore. The American dream is going to be much more leisurely, much more full of abundance because of AI and automation. But the government has to be there to help this process. It can't just let the trillionaires get super rich and everyone else end up on the streets. We need politicians that put these giant companies, trillion-dollar companies in place and say, listen, you need to pay out a basic income. You need to pay out a good income, an income so even if people don't work, they still live lives they want. Maybe they learning to play the guitar in the Bahamas, or maybe they're having more children. Right now, people aren't having children because they can't afford it. We want to create a balance in life, especially in California where I'm running for governor, that people can start and say, you know what, I'm not working anymore, but I still have enough abundance, enough resources, enough money from this basic income to live a wonderful life. In fact, hopefully, and I'm betting that this life's going to be happier than the lives that most people in California have right now, which is paycheck to paycheck. And nobody likes that.
Well, okay, so you want to put a humanoid robot in every household. How are you going to deploy this? Who's going to pay for this? How are we paying for the robots?
Yeah, so this is the $1 million question. And of course, this is the most challenging question is like, I think the world I painted is pretty good. Everyone says, well, I don't need to work. I can enjoy my life and I have a robot butler or maid that serves me. This sounds good. But where does the money come from? Well, let's be honest. If you look at the stock market, which just was it yesterday, hit a brand new high. The Dow Jones crossed 50,000. I mean, this is insane to me, given that just 20 years ago it was something at like 7 or 8,000. Anyways, the point is, companies are becoming very wealthy off AI, and all the top 10 companies now are technology companies. So we think it's time that if they're going to be taking our jobs and not recreating new jobs for human beings, they better pay something for us. It's just not right that a giant technology company is able to make trillions and more people are getting left in the dust and impoverished. That's not the society that I want to live in, and that's not the society I think most people want to live in. And these people have enough money. It's not people. These corporations have enough money. So let's tax the OpenAIs, the Microsofts, and the Googles. Let's make sure that part of their earnings become dividends that go directly to the people and pay for that basic income. Now, that's number one. There's a lot of other ways to pay for it. You can tax cryptocurrencies. You could sell off federal land, or you can lease off federal land so you don't sell it. There's a huge amount of resources. California especially has something like 600 million acres, I believe, just sitting there vacant. These are not national parks. They're just sitting up there, most of them in Northern California. A lot of this can be monetized. So there are different ways to pay for that universal basic income. And I'm not pretending it's going to start off big right away. It might start off at only $400 or $500, but we're going to make sure that every California adult resident gets it. And that when more jobs start getting taken, we're going to increase it. We're going to increase it so that you do not have to fret that AI is going to come and take your job and leave you totally desolate with a mortgage, insurance payments, and all those things. We need a governor who's willing to do that. And I think that's really where I'm going to get the money from, is those different kinds of ideas that I just explained to you.
Well, you know what, Mr. Zoltan? One time I was with a group of friends and I did the robot dance and they never let me forget it. So maybe now they get one of these humanoid robots. I could stop being the girl that did the robot when they were having a dance off. Sianka.
Hey, Ayana, that's a great joke. Hey, Zoltan, how you doing?
That's a true story, by the way. That is a true story. They never let me forget it.
Oh man, I have a question. I hear what you're saying, Zoltan, but it seems like this is like a millionaire speech because I'm nowhere near a millionaire. I'm nowhere near can afford a robot. I feel like this is kind of like a scare tactic, kind of in a sense, because we have a lot of humanity issues that we have to combat. Like, healthcare, that is very important. So you need people who are programming these AIs and these robots to be healthy, correct? So there has to be sensitivity in a humanity world in order for the robotic world to convey its means, if you know what I'm saying. Because I'm being real. I'm being a real person here because it sounds great, but most of us cannot afford a robot. Most of us would like to do our own thing, as robots do make mistakes. I've seen it on TikTok. I've seen the memes and everything. So what can you provide for a humanity cause?
Sure. Well, I think to begin with, I believe, at least according to a lot of the people we've been working with and analysts, that those that are making under $200,000, maybe $220,000 should be given special incentive to be leased or even just outright given robots. And the reason is because it's sort of like universal basic income. We think, again, the way to sell my policy is not just to say, oh, you're going to have to buy it like a car. No, we think it's actually better to give them, and that will create so much more productivity in your own life or enjoyment or happiness in your life that it would be in the best interest of companies and governments to do so, if governments really are after the greater good for people. And I'm after the greater good for people. So if I was in government, that's the thing that I would push forth. So don't think that just because it's something you're going to necessarily have to buy. There might be 0% interest leasing that you would get a robot for of some sort, if not just outright given. There's 13 million households in California, and we were looking at the numbers. We think about 8 to 9 million households could be given one no matter what happens, and another 5 million potentially leased or sold one. So we think almost everybody would get. And again, what we're doing in California, we believe the entire United States will have to do. So it doesn't really matter that you live in California. Of course, California sort of leads on a lot of these social ideas. Now, the bigger question you threw out, though, is like, how do we keep these things so that we remain, we retain the humanity in society and civilization? That's a much more challenging question. Can these robots be useful in protecting against oppression by, let's say, Trump and things like that? I hope so. But are there dangers if some of the robots maybe are made by Chinese firms? Do you want a Chinese robot in your house? And how does that help the humanity in your house? I mean, these are amazing questions, very challenging. So, we would hope in our case that maybe they would be something where the robots are American made. So they actually have a programming that's built in with democracy and all that. And we would hope also that the robots we put in your houses may never be as sophisticated as humans. Yes, I realize some of the AI engineers in Silicon Valley are working on superintelligence, but the robots that we would like to put in your houses, we don't want such smart robots. We want robots sort of like golden retrievers that just simply follow what you want to do and are good friends and good for you. Things you can talk to as well besides doing dishes and cooking for you. And in that sense, we're hoping that golden retrievers would sort of, as they bring joy into your life, hopefully a robot would. And especially when we're talking about older people, seniors that may not have enough people in their life, may need more security concerns, help just getting to the kitchen, to opening the refrigerator sometimes. My mom lives with me. She has all sorts of health issues. A robot would be very easy rather than my daughters or myself or my wife taking care of that. So these kinds of things can really enable a better life. But of course, they would have to be programmed with very solid democratic values, as well as the values of just pure kindness. And maybe you've heard of some of the, 3 laws robotics, but certainly, those 3 laws essentially say no matter what happens, a robot can never, ever harm a human being. And I hope we could also program something else where it says, yeah, not only are they going to not harm you, but they're going to hopefully try to, be designed to increase the happiness and maybe the spirituality in your life. So you actually feel better about the world around you.
I saw a movie once. Yeah, that's pretty much how I see robots. You've proposed building new super cities. Where would they go, and how would you avoid environmental damage?
Yes, a big question. Let me just tell you first off, as I've been campaigning on the streets and this week at universities, while I understand protecting the environment was very important just even 10 years ago, and it's still very important to me, a lot of people are out there talking about affordability as like the top 5 of 5 issues that they want. So let me just say, really, while I would love to protect the environment, I am concerned most importantly right now with people that are living paycheck to paycheck and are one mistake away from homelessness. So when we talk about building super cities, of course we want them environmentally friendly, and of course we want the world to be this perfect place. But at this point in time, my loyalty is to people not ending up on the streets and having homes, shelter. That's why the super cities really has a lot to do also with homeless people. We want to build places outside of the urban areas. We're not these super cities. So we've proposed 7 super cities across California. Now, it's very likely we wouldn't be able to do 7 up front, but I was just in Dubai, and I've seen over 20 years this, Dubai go from just a few skyscrapers to hundreds of skyscrapers. And if you look at the different kind of building ladders that are, on these skyscrapers, there's hundreds and hundreds of them in Dubai. In San Francisco, there's not one scaffolding. It's just like nobody's doing anything anymore in these urban areas in California. So we need to bring in this sense of building. And we can't do it because of, NIMBYism, don't build in my backyard. But we can do it if we move 100 miles outside of urban areas to some of the deserts, some of the forest. And there, I think we can build, hopefully, without damaging too much the environment, but big skyscrapers right out of the ground, communities of 1 million plus people, dedicate these cities to various industries, maybe a super city dedicated to artificial intelligence, a super city dedicated to extreme longevity science, a super city dedicated to cryptocurrencies. Some of the new things where people really want to come in and they need a place. And we want to give tax incentives, free California state land, whatever it takes to build cheaply and also to build so that people will actually want to move there. And of course, they're only going to be 100 miles from urban centers. So it's not like we're building in the middle of nowhere. You're still going to be able to drive to San Francisco in 90 minutes from these new cities. But if we could do that, it would be a boom for California because California is not building anymore. Regulations have become so impossible to do anything anymore that no one can get anything done. And if you move outside, though, of those urban areas that exist, like San Francisco, Los Angeles, and go to some of the counties where people are dying to have new urban areas, they'll allow you, the city councils there will just beg you to build. And we've talked to plenty of these people. They'll beg you to build new infrastructure in these areas. So the key with my super cities is to be in areas that don't have people yet. And hopefully, of course, we wouldn't be destroying the environment. These would be environmentally friendly cities. But there's no way to build without some disruption to the environment. I think we'd have plenty of advisors there to try to help out. But I want to be clear. My emphasis is on people having affordability in California. And one of the reasons it's become impossible, I'm sitting in Napa County at a winery right now. The environmental regulations are so strict here that it makes housing totally unaffordable except for the 1%. Now, if they lessened all the environmental restrictions, housing would become affordable overnight. So we want to go places where we don't have a lot of those restrictions. And I know that upsets some people who are looking to protect the environment. We're not in any way throwing the environment underneath the bus. We just need a better balance of building, and that's how we do these super cities.
What's the dollar amount you're proposing for the universal basic income in California?
Yes, but as I mentioned earlier, on day one, I would propose something that would be feasible. If that is only $300 or $400 per adult, that would be it. However, we would be looking much higher as soon as we saw that jobs were disrupting, and that's probably going to be in 6 to 8 months. So the $400 or $500, and we say this right now just because we know that it's probably going to go to $1,500 to $1,800 within 24 months of being in office. Let's say I was elected into governor, and when you start talking about $1,800, you're starting to talk about getting very close to where the poverty limit is. So at least people would have that amount of money to say, okay, that's probably enough for shelter. That's probably enough for food. And that's probably enough for healthcare. We're not, again, taking away existing social services. We're just supplementing new things. But on day one, what the governor could do through emergency powers, that's what we're proposing to do. What are we looking to do at the end of my term, which is more important? And I say this to you just trying to be realistic. People say, oh, you're never going to be able to pay everyone $1,500 a month. You're right. On day one, I probably wouldn't be, and nobody in the legislation wouldn't go for that. Would they go for a few $100s? Yes, they would. Would they start increasing that every 6 months as they start saying, wow, the job apocalypse is upon us? Yes, they will, when there's enough poverty and there's enough civil disruption out there. So my goal is not necessarily to give a full dollar amount to you right now. My goal is only to promise you on day one, there will be a check coming in 30 days to you. That's what I can promise. And that's something that's important because it's not just California that's facing this. This is the entire nation that has to deal with AI. We're talking about, robots doing everything from mowing our lawns to walking our dogs to doing all our taxes to being our lawyers, no matter what it is. And you can imagine what that kind of disruption means. It probably means 80 to 90% of people may not have a job over the next 5 to 10 years. Economic collapse if we don't handle this properly.
You know what, Mr. Zoltan? I am a lawyer, and I've often said that a monkey could do what I do, so maybe a robot would be better. How do you respond to concerns that the universal basic income could increase inflation or reduce workforce participation?
Yes, well, inflation is absolutely a huge problem. One of the reasons, so I'm just so you know, and it's a part of my policy, but it's not necessarily the overarching one. I'm the creator of the federal land dividend, which about 40 to 50% of the Western United States is 50% unoccupied, owned land by federal government that nobody's doing anything with, just sort of sitting there. Like 96% of Nevada, for example, is all, minerals and different types of land that nobody's doing anything. In fact, we have more minerals in Nevada than we do in Afghanistan, yet we were fighting a giant war there. And some people say for minerals. The point, though, is that if we were to tap into our own geography, we would be able to monetize that and very quickly provide a basic income monthly for American citizens, and especially in California where we have so much raw resources. If we could tie our basic income to this federal land or the state land as well, it wouldn't inflate nearly as much because you would be talking dollar for dollar. The thing with inflation is if you're taking money from, let's say, natural resources and just converting it to dollars and paying people, that's one way to control it, because a lot of what happens with inflation is you're pumping dollars in that you don't actually have. I mean, that's what the federal government did. They printed all this money during COVID, and that's why we had great inflation. But at the same time, America has these $200, $300 trillion of natural resources out there. If we were to take those resources and monetize that, then there wouldn't be not nearly as much inflation because it's just taking what we already had. It's almost like taking something out of the bank. And this is very different than printing money. And that's why I've always supported the federal land dividend. I also want to say, a big part of the basic income is just saying, listen, if you're a $1 trillion artificial intelligence company and you've wiped out 4 or 5 million jobs in the United States, pay up. I mean, it's time to not just destroy the economy. You got to be a part of the solution as well. So again, that's another way to stop inflation, because you're just taking money that they made and you're putting it back in people's pockets. Again, inflation comes very much from printing, from the printing press. If you print money out of the blue, of course there's going to be inflation. But we're talking about taking money that either already exists or is coming from natural resources.
So would you include undocumented people in the universal basic income?
I would not initially, but I have a policy. So let me just say, this is not to upset too many people. I'm all for immigration. In fact, I'm someone who has actually supported open borders for a while. But we no longer need immigrants in California with robots doing all these jobs. In fact, Trump keeps talking about the HB1 visa as the big issue, and it's like some kind of this, giant issue on immigration. But the truth is, everyone already knows that the days of having immigrants come into the United States for work are ending. And they're ending because of AI and humanoid robots about to do everything that immigrants did. So in order for my universal basic income to work, I have to be loyal to my California citizens. And that means we're going to have to either stop immigration, or we're going to have to make it so that if you come into the United States and come into California, you have money of your own. That said, I would in no way expel the immigrants that are here, especially undocumented ones, unless they're like outright murderers or something like that. But I just think we need to just fold them all in, give them citizenship, but we can't continue growing as an immigrant society. There's no reason to do that. There was a reason to do that for a long time. They contributed to the economy. They contributed to jobs. They were wonderful. But at some point, if we're talking about, welfare system like universal basic income, it just can't handle it. And you have to be honest about the numbers. So in no way is that an anti-immigration stance. It's just simply immigrants don't need to come here for work. There's going to be no more work for them. So the universal basic income has a limit to how many people it can support. And we just have to be honest about that amount. But that said, with those that are here, I think there's enough to just incorporate them into as both California and United States residents.
So you own a winery. Who's squeezing your grapes? Not squeezing them, but harvesting your grapes. How do you harvest your grapes? You use labor?
We do use labor. We do use labor in some cases, yes. These are small operations, but I'm happy to pretend for a moment that I'm a large winery or vintner, and that I do have to use immigrants for that, and we would use immigrants, and that's how we do it.
Okay, so are you planning to replace those people with some kind of, I don't know, a robot with large, like one of those things? They come and they shake. Like how would you replace?
You would do that. You would have machinery replace them, and hopefully they would be warned that that time is coming to an end. And honestly, I would be warning anyone I talk to now. I would be warning yourself as an attorney. I'd be warning myself as a journalist. Wow, geez, journalism is you've seen already the disruption. But Same thing with grape pickers. I think grape pickers have a little bit of little bit of time left because it is kind of complicated to choose which grapes are good and whatnot. But in the 2 to 3, 4 year window, everybody will be subject to this kind of machine automation framework. And if you have a business like me and you're trying to make it work, now, some people might choose to keep human labor because they believe in human labor and they want it. But if they're trying to sell wine and then the wine through the next door neighbor is using automated labor and now their wine's half the price, you're very quickly going to find yourself out of business. So that you have to, be sensible with how the world works in terms of capitalism, things like that. That's again why I support a universal basic income. It's so that the laborers say, well, I no longer have to pick grapes. Maybe I don't make as much money, but at least I don't have somebody bossing me around, and I don't have to get out in the sun and deal with rattlesnakes in the fields and things like that. So, you have to look at my greater picture, which is the American dream is not laboring anymore. The American dream is a lot of free time. You may not be as wealthy, but you have so much more free time. And if you can see that in terms of wealth, freedom being a type of wealth, you're going to feel very rich and abundant.
Well, you know what? I won't have to worry about that as a lawyer. I'm still of childbearing years. I'll probably be forced to have a baby. And as a Black woman in America, I'll probably unalive while giving birth. Beyond housing supply, what's your plan for addressing homelessness long term?
So the super cities is the plan. I think we need to have a little bit of tough love when it comes to homelessness, to homeless people, and basically say, listen, in these super cities, we're going to be creating studios or apartments where we would like you to move. And if you move there, you're going to be getting your basic income, and we're going to have your social services right next door. And we're going to have strong rules. You can't be loitering. You can't do this. And maybe there's no drugs or things like that. We want to try to, rehabilitate you into citizens that, you want to see at a restaurant and say, hey, how are you doing today? And meet people, be friends, good neighbors, meet them for a beer, for a bar. This is a big, challenging idea. And of course, it's a little bit utopic how I'm looking at it. But I do believe if you've had the proper housing and enough basic income, and you put these people there and said, this is your new home, and you have services and medical services and hospitals nearby so they don't get lost all the time in the system, you could absolutely decrease the homelessness by maybe 90%, probably within a couple of years. It's tough because you're going to ask people to move. I don't know if I'm going to forcefully move anyone, but I think when you start looking at the circumstances, these people saying, I have my own house, I have my own basic income, and the hospital's next door for my drugs or things like this, my social services, I think everyone's going to choose that.
Okay, what about the education system? Would you support coding or AI literacy being made mandatory in primary school?
Oh, absolutely not. There's absolutely no reason to learn coding anymore. You just saw the software stocks drop by $350 billion this last week. It dropped because Anthropic Claude released this new software program where you can basically just say to the machine, program this. I mean, Microsoft lost 10%. I mean, that's one of the largest companies in the world. The point is there's no more pretending that kids can code. Nobody can code even as good as an AI. There's only maybe 1 or 2% of coders on planet Earth. And these are people with PhDs that can code as well as the AI. So there's no reason to try to teach our kids that. What there's reason to try to do is figure out how to provide a basic income and go through this plan I talked about, which is reimagining the American dream. It's really, there's nothing you can do. You're going to probably within the next year see Nobel Prizes start being given out to people that used AI to create things. And then after that, it's like I think just, in fact, earlier this morning, I read that 4 mathematical problems that had existed for centuries were broken by an AI. I mean, this is routine. You're going to start seeing this so much over the next 6 to 12 months. Everything that we thought humans were the best at are going to be completely beaten by AI. And that's just the beginning. We're just very much at the beginning of the age of superintelligence and things like that. So I wouldn't teach anyone coding. What I teach people in school, in new schools, is to be good to people, is to believe in a new type of world where maybe you don't have to work 9 to 5 anymore, but you can spend your time helping others. Maybe you'll learn to build houses yourself because you love it. Maybe you'll learn to garden. Maybe you'll learn to be a writer. I mean, even though AI can write, you still might want to write the next great novel. And art being an artist, AI can be as great as it wants at art, but it's never going to replace art because art is subjective. So there's a lot of things that humans can do that you can teach humans to do, and it won't get in the way no matter how smart AI becomes. But we shouldn't compete against AI in engineering, in coding, and things like that. I mean, those fields we're talking just a few months before AI becomes the best in the world at all those fields.
Well, I guess that'll be good news to the kids who don't have even internet or computers in their homes. How do you ensure low-income districts aren't left behind in a tech-heavy model?
Well, I mean, you have to put your foot down on the universal basic income. You just got to say that everybody gets the same amount of money. And not everybody, of course, as I mentioned early on, it's sort of targeted. If you make above 150,000, your basic income should definitely be smaller. It's got to be a progressive basic income. So those at the very bottom get more, and those at the very top get very, very little because they don't need it. The point here with universal basic income is to create equality. You don't want anyone to be left behind. So I would say that the best way to help low-income communities is to just have this basic income in place, and everybody will, do better as a result of that. And the basic income, again, doesn't really apply to very wealthy people or even rich people. It applies to middle class and especially to impoverished people.
So, what programs or departments would you cut or restructure in the California state budget?
Well, I got to be honest. I think right now, and this is where maybe being a centrist Democrat comes in play, is I think there's a huge amount of fraud in the system. And when I say fraud, I don't mean people are outright cheating. What I mean is that there's just a lot of fat in the system. People have been living off the fat of the land without actually saying, is this really truly producing something in the best interest of the population? That's why, despite California public education getting more money than ever before, scores for 30 years have been going down. And it's almost embarrassing. So somewhere along the way, whether it's administrative work that's too much, too excessive, or whatever it is, people have been failing. This, again, was one of the reasons why I'm running for governor. We need someone to step in and kind of say, okay, we're going to audit everything, and we're going to make sure that money's actually being used in the proper way to lift all Californians above. And I think those that are going to be lifted the most are probably the impoverished people, because they're going to say, wow, we spent $26 billion or something on homelessness and the problem got bigger. I mean, the problem is you need to go in there and say, where did that money go? Why didn't we actually solve the problem? And some people, I'm not saying have to go to jail, but fraudsters need to be fired. And people that really care about improving the numbers, the stats that come out from all this money we're putting in, have to be put into place. That's going to be a hard business as a Democrat, but somebody needs to do that. And again, it's sort of like the homelessness issue I discussed. It's going to take some tough love, but in no way, if your bottom line is to really help the underprivileged, then this is the best thing I think we can do for them, because too many people are living off the fat of the land right now, and there's too much fraud in the system. Again, I don't want to use fraud. I don't think anyone needs to go to jail. I just think people that aren't producing true good numbers for the populace need to be replaced with people that will.
So you mentioned earlier, the top of the town hall rather, that you have issues with property crime at your winery. What do you propose to address what some might see as concerns about theft?
Sure. Well, I think, again, I hate to say this and I don't want to sound like this is my only thing, but a universal basic income is like a cure-all for so many different problems. One of the reasons crime has increased, or things you have to worry about with properties, is because people don't have enough money. And I know this from campaigning. Look, I go out in the streets and I'm telling you, 7 out of 10 people are like, I cannot afford life. And I'm just being beaten down and I'm upset. The problem here is really money, and the problem is resources. The impoverished are just not getting out. And, the poverty line, they say, is like 35,000, whatever it is, 33,000. But the true poverty line in California and a lot of major cities is like 120. So we need to have a universal basic income where people's incomes are supplemented. And I think when you do that, a lot more people are going to say, I don't want to turn to crime. I don't need to take that opportunity, that chance. I need to, enjoy what I'm doing, The American dream isn't about stealing, about getting richer that way. The American dream is about doing other things that I want to do, and I have enough money to survive and hopefully thrive, and I'm going to follow that path. I think the universal basic income reduces crime by 50% in California over a 4 or 5 year time frame.
So critics say your ideas are too futuristic to be practical. How do you respond to that?
It's a very tough one to respond to, I got to be honest. And I find myself, as my numbers are not too great in the polls, I find myself facing that. It's been tough because on one hand, I think we can all agree that there's a lot of problems across the United States and California. If you just drive through the streets and drive through the cities, you see them so apparent. I mean, we have such an enormous homeless population and everyone's paycheck to paycheck. I mean, but I think it takes somebody bold to really shake this state up and shake the country up. I think it's going to take brand new ideas. Look, we have this challenge with artificial intelligence, humanoid robots. We have companies giving up making cars to make robots now. I mean, if you can't see the writing on the wall, I have no other way to tell you, but the world is changing very quickly underneath our feet. And the same politicians who got us here are not the same ones to trust to get us out. We're going to need bold new ideas. And I have some of the boldest out there. I'm not promising you all of them are correct. I'm not promising you that I am a fix-all for everything. But at least I have brand new ideas to try and to improve the situation. And the situation has gotten dire in many states across the United States.
So what's one of your core beliefs that you think most Californians would either agree with or disagree with?
Well, I think the core belief is that most people around the United States are living paycheck to paycheck and are pissed off at how unaffordable the world has become. And if we can improve that, either through having robots in our houses or through a universal basic income or through whatever means is possible, that will take a lot of the steam off the kettle that's, making its funny noise right now. Woo! We need to improve that situation because everybody I talk to has had it. They're just like, look, I can't afford insurance. I can't afford this. I can't get ahead anymore. I think we used to all, like even 10, 15 years ago, feel like you could get ahead. You could go to college. You could do this. Going to college? I mean, who's going to college to study what? Are you paying $250,000 to study something for a profession that's going to be gone in 24 months? The whole world is changing. And so we need some brand new ideas in order to get out of this rut we're in. And affordability is the most important one. And if we have machines around us that are helping us, doing our laundry, serving us food, fixing things, so we don't have to hire a plumber at $180 an hour where I live in San Francisco. Those are the kinds of things that are going to make our lives a lot more financially digestible. And if we can get there, then I think people are going to say, yeah, this is a better era. I'm happier, I'm less stressed, and I'm getting by, and I can do what I want. That's something that I'm trying to get the American people to do, as well as Californians.
So, how do your beliefs about life extension and transhumanism shape your approach to governing?
Well, sure. As people might know if they research me, I'm very much interested in upgrading the human being with science and technology. I think dying from cancer is terrible. I think dying from anything is terrible. I think all of us should have the opportunity to live as long as we want to live. And even if you're religious, you still want that opportunity, even if you want to meet your maker at some point. So I absolutely believe, like many other people in California, that curing all disease would be a good thing. And I also believe that if we could one day have implants in our heads that maybe, allow us to see better or fight cancer or do things like that, those are all things that, despite being controversial, would be useful. And those that might lose a limb, let's say you're fighting a war in Afghanistan and you put on a robotic arm so you can hug your wife again and drink a beer. I think those are wonderful technologies and I absolutely support those. And I definitely would support an initiative in California, some kind of longevity initiative where we would hopefully put a few $1 billion into to try to get every single person in our state and in our country to live 10, 20, 30 years longer and live with better health through those years.
Well, Mr. Zoltan, I've learned so much. I really have. And in California, it appears is poised for new leadership in the governor's office. how's the race going for you there? What's the fundraising? What's the response you're getting from people that you're meeting out in the state? How's it going?
So the fundraising, I'll start with the bad news, has not been great. Um, the media attention and just kind of going out and meeting people, and we're doing interviews almost daily. That's been quite good. I got to be honest. Somehow, though, I think my message isn't necessarily connecting with enough people. Probably, as you pointed out, it's a little too futuristic. It sounds a little strange and wild, but we're hoping that in the next 4 months before the primaries, the more videos you see of robots doing crazy gymnastics, of job loss occurring, I mean, this week alone, you were like Amazon. There's all these companies that just released how many people they're firing. I mean, it was Facebook, all these places. The more people that realize these things are coming and the less these other mainstream politicians are talking about it, I think more people will look towards me to say, okay, there is someone, he's been talking about this 20 years, he's advised presidents, he's spoken at the World Economic Forum, he's spoken at the World Bank, he's an Oxford educated guy, an Ivy League educated guy, he has hopefully what it takes. And I promise you, I do, it's just my ideas may still be a little too early to get the broad recognition that we want, but I promise you they're coming, whether in this governor's race or the next one.
Well, listen, Mr. Zoltan, I'm just going to keep it real with you. You're living in a country, I'm living in a country where we couldn't even convince people that universal health care was in their best interest, that it was somehow against their constitutional rights. Also, you're living in a country that people think diversity, equity, and inclusion is bad, and you're trying to sell them robots. I think maybe that's the problem. You're trying to sell something up here to brains that are down here. And maybe you might want to just start a little bit closer to the ground if you want to get more people on your side, if you catch my drift.
I do. And look, and I do appreciate that. But I think the problem here is that there are some pretty good politicians that, and very well-known ones, that are addressing a lot of the issues down here. And I can't compete with them. They're actually mayors and congresspeople and whatnot. What I can say is, look, I'm one of the world's most well-known futurists, and in my field, and I've been dealing with these things for 30 years at the highest academic levels and the highest major media levels. When that time comes that you start seeing, like, wow, I lost my job because an AI took it and I didn't see that coming, that's when my moment will come. And I realize it may not come during this governor's race because it's not here yet, but I promise you it's coming in the next 12 to 24 months, and it'll definitely be here by 2028 because too many people are losing their jobs. And the real problem here is that we can't stop AI, because if we stop it, the Chinese will create it. And if they create it, then they'll have the run of the planet with their more sophisticated AI than ours. So we're sort of in this great AI race. So it's inevitable. It's going to take jobs, probably most people's jobs, over the next 5 years, 10 years. I might be early, but I'm definitely not wrong. And I know that doesn't really help me that much in this gubernatorial run. But we'll see. Things could happen in the next 2-3 months that change things. Just to give you a little idea, I bought a Jeep recently, a 2000 Jeep, and we're afraid that AI may actually stop a lot of the traffic lights, gas, electricity, all these things here within 6 to 12 months, because it may, some kind of science fiction Terminator scenario. It may not try to kill us. You have to understand, AI may not be interested at all in harming human beings, but it may have its own reasons for stopping the world, maybe because we're destroying the environment and things like that. But if that happens, that kind of moment happens, you may remember this conversation, say, there was a guy, he was okay, he was a nice guy, he actually had solid liberal values, but he was talking about these things, they were just too early. And hopefully when that happens, you'll remember me. And if I don't win this governor's race, which of course I probably won't, maybe I'll be back for the next one, and maybe I can make some important change that helps us all.
Well, Mr. Zoltan, if you can get me a robot that looks like Terminator circa 1983 that Arnold Schwarzenegger built, perhaps I'll get on board. But again, I'm in Ohio and I can't vote for you, so I wish you the best of luck. Looking ahead to our next event on Monday, February 9th at 6 p.m., we will be hosting Evan Turnage, who is running for the Democrat primary for Mississippi's U.S. 2nd Congressional District. We hope you will join us. We have had such an interesting time here with you, Mr. Istvan. I mean, really, I've learned a lot, and the chat was chatting. They were very active. We hope you'll come back with us if you have time, if your ideas take a little bit more shape, or after the primary, let us know how you did. We would love to hear from you again. Again, I am Ayana Fakir. This has been Our Vote Counts Town Hall with Zoltan Istvan. Thank you, Mr. Istvan. It's been a pleasure. OVC is a nonpartisan movement uniting Americans from all walks of life to empower voters, support candidates of integrity like Mr. Istvan, and ensure every voice is heard. Every voice. I do mean every. Through education, outreach, accountability, and action, we're building a stronger democracy, one informed vote at a time. Thank you for joining us. Remember, your vote is your power. Oh, I forgot to ask, when do the primaries start in California? When's the primary race?
They are in June 2nd. June 2nd.
June 2nd. Is there early voting in California?
Yes, there is. There's early voting, and in fact, the date to sign to do a lot of the formal paperwork is here in the next week.
Okay. Well, I hope that goes well for you. I hope people will get out and vote. It's been a tough thing over the years to get people to show up to primaries, especially for midterms. So I hope you all will show up to vote. Pick your poison in the next election, people. Again, thank you. Remember, your vote is your power. Everyone, have a great night. Enjoy the big game tomorrow. Bye, y'all.
Thank you so much.